Good morning, everybody. Well, at least it's morning in my part of the world. I'm sure it is in most of us as well, but Um, I've just got a little complaint. Why do I get man flu when I've got a lot of speaking things to do, groups to work with, and so on and so forth? What is man flu? Well, it's just a cold, really, but we call it man flu in this house. And that's because people make fun of it. Okay, I'm going to try and keep up with the comments. I'm not very good at that, I've got to admit, but you'll see it. We'll see how it goes. But I'm trying to kind of keep an eye on my laptop whilst I talk to you through the phone. Anyway, what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about a journey. It's a journey that started quite a long time ago. I'm not going to go into dates and such like, but wow, it's a long one. Anyway, if you've got questions, by all means drop them in the comments. I will get back to them, but I probably won't stop what I'm talking about. So once I'm done, I'll go back into the group and have a good look at any questions that are up there, and I will respond. If there's no questions, fine. Okay, not a problem. I do love to answer questions, though, especially good ones, and most questions are good ones. There's very rarely a bad one. There's no such thing as a bad question, right? Anyway, so what happened? Think about it like this to begin with: prospering, fading, and thriving. So that suggests a journey. Have you ever had one of those jobs with the golden handcuffs? I'm talking about the sort of job where the benefits are so good that thinking about leaving is never more than a passing thought on a stormy day. The benefits of my job were so great that colleagues and I frequently joked about the golden handcuffs. Joking, not joking, joking, not joking. It kind of circulated this whole debate about whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, but yet none of us left or wanted to leave. We had free housing, no utility bills, exceptionally increased salary compared to other professionals working for different employers in the same sector. So what's not to like? Added to that, I got to help a lot of people through my daily work. And the company even paid me to increase my academic qualifications. Pretty cool, right? So the roads of the streets I roamed were paved with gold. Things were so good that when my relationship started to fail, I buried my head in the abundance of gold and kind of anesthetized myself from the pain of the psychological abuse I suffered at home. I'm not going to go into that relationship today because that's not the point of this short talk, but that's a story for another day. On the darker side of my job, I worked with inequality, abuse, and emotional challenges. I was good at it. I don't mind blowing my own trumpet sometimes. If you don't blow your own, who's going to blow it for you? And I helped people to heal and move away from their pain toward the life they wanted. I needed somebody to do for me what I did for other people, and I had no idea until I fell in love for the first time and the sun began to rise again. Falling in love brought everything into focus. I saw what was wrong in my relationship. I felt how much I'd been hurting. I recognized that my prosperity had been fading and the light had almost gone out. I was fading. Fortunately, love didn't blind me. It opened my eyes. I knew what I had to do, did it, and my light began to shine again. Except for just one disturbing difference. I lost something at work. Oh no! Or was it that work had lost something? I was still the professional I'd always been. The difference was that love and the growth of a family enabled me to balance life and work. Work had expectations, and they no longer matched what I was willing to give. That was difficult for a while, but they got used to it. I noticed too that the golden handcuffs had loosened slightly. I'm getting a kind of feeling back in my fingers, quite cool. I was beginning to plan postgraduate study in forensic psychology, and that would have meant leaving the golden handcuffs and moving to a different industry, still under the umbrella of psychology, but different industry altogether. And I was comfortable, I was happy with that. So all was well in Costello world, and one day I received a blessing in disguise. No judgments, right? The blessing was a left knee fracture obtained while out on my rollerblades. It gave me 6 weeks at home while I recovered, and it gave me 6 weeks with my amazing family, and allowed me to get involved with preparations for baby number 3. Yoo-hoo. Okay, there are simpler ways of getting time off work. If you've got any good ideas, put them in the comments. Let's have some fun with it. A few things happened during those 6 weeks. I slept a lot. I mean, a lot. Go to bed in the evening, 8 to 9 hours. Get up in the morning, fall asleep mid-morning, wake up round about lunchtime or just before, fall asleep again in the afternoon. A lot of sleeping. I began to dread returning to work, and the pain in my knee was increasing. Despite all the checks, all the x-rays, the doctor visits just to make sure things were working out as they should be, the pain was increasing, but yet the doctors were saying, well, all looks good to us. So the hip-to-toe plaster came off after 6 weeks, as scheduled, and of course the physiotherapy started, until the therapist told me that things were not as she would expect. So she referred me to a pain specialist. During the following 6 months, things deteriorated. Crutches became a wheelchair, and I lost use of most of the left side of my body. Hand, if I wanted to lift my left hand, I would have to lift it with my right hand, for example. My mouth on the left side, kind of like this. People used to ask me if I'd had a stroke, which was kind of a bit spooky, really, because as far as I knew, I'd never had a stroke. Left leg didn't work. Pain in my ribs, all kinds of places, always down the left. Strange. Anyway, that's just a little aside. So I became addicted to prescribed opiates, and the dose kept increasing. The pain increased, the dose increased, the pain increased, the dose increased. So 1 year after the accident, I was told not to expect to leave the wheelchair. Not ever. That was devastating. I remember that day clearly, so clearly. The doctor's room, I can describe the colour of the walls, where things were, the layout of his desk, how he was sat, the light coming in slightly to one side of him. It was sunny. It was a spring day. My partner was sat next to me. I was in the wheelchair. She was sat to my right. Everything is crystal clear. But one thing that was also crystal clear, but I didn't say anything at the time, was, hey doc, I love you, but I think you're wrong. He was a cool doctor, actually. But I did think that. I thought, I think you're wrong, but I couldn't put any logic to that. It was just a feeling somewhere deep inside. So a few months later, the golden handcuffs were forcefully pulled from my wrists and thrown away. That was painful. I moved from highly paid professional to unemployed at the stroke of an occupational health doctor's pen. So the guy who thrived on delivering help found himself in need of help, and that didn't sit well. I didn't know how to ask or receive. I could help other people, apparently not myself. Cool, calm, and in control ceased to be self-descriptors I related to. I became something else until my wonderful 4-year-old daughter woke me up, and we were out on a walk with Grandma. So we're walking along the riverbank near our village, and there's a stone cross with an image of Jesus fixed to the cross. That's a statue of Jesus. What's the best way to describe that? I don't know. You get the image, right? Cross, Jesus. So daughter says to Grandma, hey Grandma, what did that man do? And Grandma gave what I would call a fairly biblical response. She said, he sacrificed himself to pay for our sins. And my daughter said, "But Grandma, I didn't do anything." That small, innocent comment hit me hard. I remember the tears rolling down my face as I sat in the wheelchair with a head full of opiates and self-pity. My partner and children had been receiving a poor quality copy of who I was. They hadn't done anything but share their love. They didn't do anything except love. This was a turning point. And if there is such a thing as coincidence, one arrived the following week. So a physiotherapist introduced me to a process called breathing through the pain. He told me that if I practiced, I would be able to feel the sensation of breathing in and out through my left knee, for example, and in time, it would contribute to pain relief. What sort of mind game was this? I'm a qualified psychologist, for goodness sake, don't mess with my head. But John insisted that it was no mind game, rather something called mindfulness, and for the next few weeks, physiotherapy sessions became a little physical therapy and teachings on mindfulness. Please forgive me here, I'm about to squash over 5 years of training and retraining into a few short minutes. The first thing you need to know is that I was still very much an opiate addict, and that affected many aspects of me. My memory was a mess. So if you told me something right now and asked me to repeat it in 10 minutes, chances are that I might get a little bit of it, but a lot of it would be lost. So what the physio did was he taught me a lot about mindfulness. And it didn't take long to begin to relate his teachings to my personal development skills and experiences, because teaching and coaching personal development had been a major part of my first degree and work experience. I started to manage the pain, and little by little, my opiate intake reduced. That sounds easy, doesn't it? Little by little, my opiate intake reduced. It wasn't that easy, it was horrible. It's not a subject for today, but coming off medication like morphine sulfate was one of the opiates. There was another one as well. Coming off those things is not simply let's reduce, and then one day we're going to feel normal again. Your body reacts. There's all kinds of crazy things go on. Anybody who's been in this position knows exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe that's a talk for another day. So parallel to all of that, coming down off the morphine and so on and so forth, I decided that whatever happened, I would never accept golden handcuffs again, or put myself in a position where somebody could sign me out of my future, which is what the occupational health doctor had done with my career. I don't blame him for that. I did for a while, but I don't blame him for that today. So through a lot of training and even more trial and error, I looked for ways to use my skills in the online world. That was interesting because it wasn't anywhere near as well developed as it is today. So I found a way to get some high quality and free marketing training by joining a network marketing opportunity. This was never something I would have seen myself doing, but I did, and the learning, the value was incredible. The more I focused on learning and forward momentum, I improved. I still had bad days, more good than bad, until I had a massive pain crash and was hospitalized for 2 months. And the worst thing about that, it was bad enough being hospitalized, and the time period was 2 months, leaving my family at home. But worse than all of that was that our third daughter was born a couple of weeks before that happened. It was devastating, and devastating seems like an inadequate descriptive word. And it wasn't steps backward, it was more like a forced march. But I recovered, and once I felt well enough, I continued my learning and business development quest. But there was something nagging me. And the best way to put it was a fear of delivering therapy sessions to clients because doing that had been one of the contributors to my burnout. It also reminded me of other aspects of my past, which had been emotionally painful, and I really didn't want to resurrect any of those. If I did any of this, the past was going to repeat. That's what I was feeling all the time. I wasn't verbalizing it to myself, but something in there said, if you go down this road, it's going to repeat. It's going to come back. But wait, that's not mindful. John had taught me a lot. Sound to me at that time like I needed cognitive behavioral therapy. But the truth is that I knew it could help. I used it at work. It can be incredibly effective. But the thought of going to see another psychologist for CBT filled me with dread. Why? Because band-aids would be ripped off. It was going to hurt. I remember the psychologist introducing herself, and it was something on the lines of, I know you don't want to be here. Just get out of your own way and let me hold your hand. Just for a while. So I physically offered a hand, and she took it. It's quite cool. And she held on to it while she talked me through the process. Some of the wounds bled a lot. She was right though. I had been in my own way and had been charging around trying to keep too many band-aids from coming unstuck. The CBT wasn't a magical pill, and it was necessary to work at it quite a lot after the sessions had finished. And one aspect of my therapy was that I wrote 2 novels, one for children, and that one was based on stories I'd made up at bedtime for our own children. And the second one was a historical fiction novel for adults. And within that particular novel, I incorporated some of the things I'd been learning. There were no Amazon bestsellers. Well, that would have required some marketing. As therapy for me at least, they were worldwide bestsellers. And a kind of never-ending story of sorts. So the book's finished, but things continue. There'll always be challenges wherever I walk. I know that. The difference today is that I have mindfully changed the way I look at things. Not all things change as I would like, but that's okay. I accept it. And one of the most significant changes, this is cool, and this was a couple of weeks ago, I smashed my speed record on a severe mountain bike downhill trail section. I reached 86 kph. In miles per hour, that's about 53. I can't begin to explain the thrill. It's something I've been working at for quite some time. But a few years ago, sat in a wheelchair, I'd already been a mountain bike rider before that event, before I fractured my knee. I thought that I would never do anything like ride a mountain bike again. And there I am, flying down a very steep hill, bumpy, not smooth, at about 53 miles per hour. I gave my crutches and the wheelchair to charity. I don't take any medication. I ride my mountain bike 6 out of 7 days and ski in the winter. I'm a present partner and dad, and my business is steadily growing. My gratitude for the people involved and the experiences along this journey are immense. It's difficult to sum it all up, but I can, in a way, I suppose. It takes one moment to shift your energy to the place you want it to be. Just have a think about that. The past has no place except in memory. So we can learn from our experiences, but we don't go back to the past. We move on, we keep going forward. There's nothing more precious than now, because now is the catalyst for the future. Thanks for giving your time today. It's been a pleasure. If you've got any questions, please jump in and shout them out. I'm just having a quick look in the group and I can't see anything. So I'll finish for now. I look forward to hearing some of you talk soon. Take care. Bye.